Blessings, my loves, and welcome to my full moon, lunar eclipse, and Beltane report. Wow, what a huge cycle it's been, and so much transforming in this eclipse season. So, yeah, I hope you're all riding the waves okay. And yeah, it's been quite intense for many of us. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna share a screen with you all because I want to just talk about Beltane and Samhain um, with the Celtic Wheel of the Year. So I'm just going to share a screen with you. So you should be able to see this now, hopefully. Yeah, so basically, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, at the moment, we have been celebrating Beltane, which is a time of life, fertility, blossoming, of union and love, um, of really coming to life in all of the juiciness and the succulence of fertility and creation. Um, and so, on the flip side of that, for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, you are celebrating Samhain at this time. So that is the time of death, but it's also the ending of the old cycle. But in the death is the beginning of the new. So as the old cycle completes and we come to the death time of Samhain, we really are seeing the seeds of potential going into the soil as the apple drops down. You know, that is the seed of new life that's going into the underworld. So these two energies that we're working with now, even if we're in the south or if we're in the north or wherever we are, you know, really the life of Beltane, you know, is balanced out by the death of Samhain. So really the Samhain and Beltane portals are about life and death, endings and beginnings. So I've worked out on my calendar the exact midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice this year, and it is on the 5th for us in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it will be on the Samhain will be on the 6th of May. So obviously the Gregorian calendar is quite higgledy-piggledy, and so it isn't the 1st of May or the 31st of October that we have Samhain and Beltane. You know, it's changeable because, you know, the solstices and the equinoxes, you know, they don't, you know, sync in with the Gregorian calendar. They don't say it's the 21st of December, so that's the solstice. You know, it's very connected to the seasons and the skies and the land and all of the um, balance of the earth and our solar system. So yeah, it's actually not going to be set date every year. This is why we work it out. We calculate the exact day. And it just so happens that this year, the exact day of Beltane, Samhain, is the time of the lunar eclipse full moon. It's on the same day. So, you know, everything is synchronized, right? And the cosmos knows this. So, um, when we are aligning with the live sky and we're aligning with the true dates of the turnings of the wheel, it really brings great power because we are aligning with things as they really are rather than an outdated calendar or an outdated um, astrological system. So yeah, that's just it feels really important to share that, you know, that it isn't the same every year. And it's important to work out the exact day, which is actually I found out quite easy to do when you sit down and count the days. Um, so yes. So the those of you who are in the south, you know, you're going into the autumn winter time and you're coming into your new year, Samhain. And this is a beautiful time, you know, to be really with this lunar eclipse energy. You know, the energy of the lunar eclipse right now is aligned to the south node, which is the tail of the dragon. And so, really, so much. around releasing and letting go. And, you know, for those of us in the north, we are coming out into our full fertility. You know, we are creating and we are birthing and we are conceiving and we are fertile and juicy, and you know the lands are all sprouting up and there's flowers and babies everywhere, right? So but in the birth of the life, there is the death of the winter and all of that that's come before, you know, the time in the womb. So as the seed bursts out of the soil, you know, it's no longer just a seed. So there's a death there too. And so what this is teaching us, what we are learning now, is that death and life are entwined and they're actually inseparable. And you know, you can't have one without the other. You can't go through a threshold without changing, without having a transformation. And this is the energy of Pluto, and this is the energy of, you know, going through these turnings of the wheel. Is that each time we see a transformation, we see a change, and we see a shift. And you know, the stars are changing, the sun and everything is always changing, so we keep updating and we keep reviewing and tuning into the energies of what is now, what is here. And so talking about what is now and what is here, I'm going to take you into the live sky with Stellarium Web, which is one of my favorite programs. So I've stopped sharing that screen with you all now. So let's go into the live sky. Stellarium Web, okay. Let's refresh the page, see if it will do it now. Here we go. Okay, not sure what happened there with Stellarium Web, but we seem to have got it working now. So I'm going to just let you know that the time of the lunar eclipse will be on the 5th of May for us in the GMT time zone, and it will begin at 16:14 in the afternoon. It will be at its fullest at 18:22, and then it'll end at 20:31. So, I mean, that's also the exact time of the full moon is at 18:34. So obviously they're right together as they are, right? So just trying to move that over so I can put my constellations in. And I'm just going to put the ecliptic line on because I find that helpful. All right, here we go. So I'm going to change the date here until the 5th. And we're going to change the time to 18:30. Let's say 18:22 because that's when the eclipse is at its max. And then the full moon will be, you know, just 10 minutes later. So we're going to look into the moon. So I use obviously the live sky for my astrology readings, which is actually astronomy. I believe astrology and astronomy are one. So when I'm looking up at the live sky, you know, and I can see the moon and I can see the stars around it, that's how I tell which constellation the moon is in for the full moon. You know, just like our ancient ancestors would have done. Western astrology is saying that the full moon is in Scorpio. As you can see from the live sky here, this is the constellation Libra, and this is the full moon on the 5th of the 5th of 18:23. And this is Scorpius down here. So as you can see very clearly in the live sky, the full moon is in Libra. Originally, Libra and Scorpio were one constellation. So that's been changed, you know, back in time that these constellations were separated. It's so interesting because, you know, even the star names of Libra's scales, you know, are I mean, this is actually called the Northern Claw, and this star here, which I'm going to attempt to say, Zuben el Genabi, Zuben el Genabi, means the Southern Claw. So these are the claws of the scorpion. So even the star names, when you read it and the meaning of the words, you can see that this is actually part of the Scorpio constellation. So maybe the full moon is in Scorpio, actually, because Libra and Scorpio are one and the same. But why is Libra here? Why does Libra come first? Because as we come to the gates of death, when we come to the Samhain portal and the ending of a cycle, it's really important that we come to these gates in peace. This is where we meet with the Egyptian goddess Maat. And she weighs our heart against a feather. So what, is the real gift of this time is to really tune into our heart and the things that may be heavy in our heart. And, if we was to come to the gates of the underworld, we would need to shed this skin like a serpent, to release that heaviness in our heart so that we can come in peace into the underworld, into the death of the scorpion, down the serpent's tail, so we can descend down into the underworld just like Inanna, just like Ishtar, and all these stories of the descent, and she takes off her crown and she takes off all these parts of herself, but she needs to be, when she comes into the gates of Libra, she's weighed, her heart is weighed. Are you heavy in your heart? And so when we're coming up to this full moon, which is tomorrow, and this lunar eclipse, which is aligned to the south node, the south node is connected to the dragon's tail. So it's, we could really tune into our tail and the tales or the stories from the past that we are really needing to choose now. If we're going to carry on with these stories and these tales of the past, or whether we can shake that tail and that skin and we can let that go and break free into a new cycle. So this is the energy of this full moon is connected to Libra, connected to Mars, connected to our heart, and really remembering the medicine of our heart and how how can we find love here? How can we return home to our heart center so that we can be born in love, in Beltane, and we can die in love. So we're born in love and we return to love, and that love is the life force that is governing us all the way through our being. So it's this love that, we are eternal love, really. And so we are at this time of this full moon through all of the turbulence. Yes, there is turbulence and intensity. I'll go into the chart in a minute. But what we are learning here is around the love that is filtering through all of it. That is the center point of the whole show. And we couldn't be here without love. So this really is a real call to love, this full moon. Also wanting to share, I love the star names as well, and I'm going to give this a go. But this constellation here is the serpent constellation, which is connected to a fucus. So you can see the tail of the serpent here is this end down here, and this is the fucus, the serpent bearer, and on this side is the top end of the snake. So this star here, I'm going to give it a go at saying it. I might get it wrong. Unakali, and also called Quo Serpentis, And it's the heart of the serpent. And also in, some translations, it's the throat of the serpent. So I really resonated with when I found the meaning of the heart of the serpent, because when you think about it being aligned to the stars of Libra, and it's aligned to the weighing of the heart, it really does link up and make a lot of sense, to me anyway. That this full moon is really aligned with the heart of the serpent, and so this, like I was sharing, it's around this central valley of our heart. And when I tune in to my heart, I feel like this golden energy that is radiating, it's beating through my whole being. And when you feed a baby, the milk or the colostrum, the first milk that comes out, is gold. And it's so gold. It's like the energy of the heart is golden. And this is the energy of Libra, so really feeling that golden energy of the potential of this full moon, whatever we're experiencing, the challenges, the turbulence, the tension, the aggression, the anger, like really, the medicine here is love. Love for ourselves, first and foremost, and love for, our life and our environment, and really finding that valley of love in our heart. And the beautiful Venus, I'm just going to look at her. She's over in Taurus. So she's at home, so Venus, but she's right at the end. You can see she's right in the horns. And I shared in my last video, she's at the silver gate of reincarnation here. So she is, when you see all the pictures of like the Hathors and Isis, they've always got like the horns, and then the sun or the golden circle within the horns, right? And this is where Venus is sitting right now. So the imagery on this is so beautiful, like Venus between the horns of the bull at the silver gate of reincarnation here. So, what this could be, the Venus energy, like I say, it's taking us home to our heart, to our self-love, to nurturing ourselves and loving ourselves, and really tending to the places in our heart that may feel heavy. If we're being triggered right now by, things that are going on around us, things that are being poked and prodded, and things that we really need to let go of, and we know it deep down. But it's like when we are presented with these deep, like traumatic things that get poked, it's like, wow, I can feel that's really tender, and we really need to tend to ourselves, like with absolute adoration and reverence for all we've experienced through all our past lives and all our incarnations. Because the South Node, it really is the dragon's tail of everything we've done in all our reincarnations before, and all of the things that we've learned. So we can be really comfortable in our South Node, it's the things that we're naturally good at, that we can lean on. It's really comfortable. It's things that we've figured out, we've done it before. It's not necessarily where we're meant to be going, it's stuff that we've already mastered, and we're not here to carry on the cycles of the past, So Pluto is helping us a lot with this, right? Because he's in this Grand Cross aspect with Black Moon Lilith. I'm going to jump into the chart in just a moment. So the medicine of the heart, really tuning into Venus, tuning into Libra, the golden energy of the nectar of our heart, and how, when we can feel ourselves coming into the fear, like Moon Lilith, of the transformation and the death and the endings of things, Pluto. How can we, in that moment, it's a practice of mine with my children and all of my life's things. How can I, in these moments when I can feel my adrenaline pumping and I feel stressed, I can feel myself tensing, clenching, creating tension in my body. How can I, in that moment, say, hold on? And the answer is breathing, breathing into those places, the breath, and on the exhale, really exhaling it out, seeing if we can soften on the exhale, seeing if we can lengthen our exhale and really let go, really release the tension in our body. And it's through breathing practices like that that I have been able to realign my stress levels and my adrenals to be calm again in, very difficult situations. It's the difference between, getting triggered and yelling at my child, or taking a moment to step out, do a few really conscious deep breaths and come back to my child with compassion. It's to me, like, the breath is my anchor, really. So yeah, and I'm just going to show you the timeanddate.com for the lunar eclipse, because you might want to see where we can see it in the world. So I love timeanddate.com. It's really great. So you can see here that the eclipse is visible and all the pink area. So it's actually quite a lot that can see it. Us in England can't see it. So and Americas can't see it, but Africa can see it, and a lot of Europe, Australia and New Zealand will be able to see the lunar eclipse. So lucky you. And so I'm going to jump over to the chart. God, it's so bright on my face when I'm doing this in the evening for you. I'm drinking my lovely herbs. This is another thing that is helping me through these times, is my my gratitude to the plants and the herbs that I grow to help me restore balance. Libra. Okay, so the full moon, you can see 6 degrees of Libra. And 6 is a really lovely number. 6 is like connected to family. Yeah, just that beautiful kind of energy of peace and harmony, actually. That's how I connect the number 6. Not that I know that much about numerology. It's not really my domain, or I know some really great numerologists out there. Yes, so the full moon in Libra, and you can see the journey into the underworld. So those of you who are in the southern hemisphere and you're in your Samhain, you really are going down into the underworld right now. You're going to be going into the death of the winter and the darkness of the ending of the cycle and returning to the womb. And so us in the north, even though we're coming back out into the sun, to the life, there is still the death of the winter and that part of the cycle. So yeah, as we live, we die, and it's one and the same. Um, so yeah, Pluto is squaring the nodes in T-square to the nodes. So Pluto is retrograding now. He's at the 0 degrees of Capricorn, and he's going back into Sagittarius. Mercury's also in retrograde in constellation Aries or Cetus, however you want to look at that. Yeah, so going back in Aries this way here. So these two energies going retrograde at the same time, it is very intense, and it's very like a lot of difficulties around communication, and we may be finding, people very irritable or frustrated or very angry with their voice. There could be a lot of volatility and just feeling quite eruptive and having a really short fuse. And Black Moon Lilith is also on the other side of the T square in the nodes. And she is in Gemini. So, that is connected to our voice and our communication as well. And she's in square to Mercury and T square to Mercury, and Mars is really close as well in Gemini. And so this is why I feel like the voice, we could feel like, because Libra is connected to our relationships, Pluto opposing Black Moon Lilith, I could really see real trouble in our relationships at this full moon, or arguments, between our relationships. We could see, aggression and anger, and like this Black Moon Lilith opposing Pluto is really fucking intense energy. It's like the Lord of the Underworld and the Black Moon Lilith is the dark feminine. So they're both like the shadow aspects of the masculine and the feminine. So if we're in relationship, we may be seeing, those aspects playing out, and it may be coming out vocally through our words, with Pluto and Mercury, our communicator, and our voice going backwards, and the energy of, or the Aries fire, or the Cetus primordial whale, it's taking us into this really core, could be a really core wounded place, of our primordial wounds that are surfacing, and our deepest fears, and Black Moon Lilith in Gemini, maybe it's a fear to speak our truth, a fear of our voice, or a fear of communicating or saying the wrong thing, or we may be feeling that our words are getting really jumbled up, and there could be this kind of like trouble with our communication. And then with Mars really close by as well, it could be feeling this kind of like, like really, eruptive or angry. So that's kind of the feeling that I get with all these energies. So this is like the nodes and the T square with Pluto. Pluto is like where he is right now in 0 degrees of Capricorn and going back into Sagittarius. He's going back over past ground. So he's like, over the last kind of 6 months cycle since the last eclipse season, which was, around October time last year. It could be really worth reflecting around the things that were coming up then, if we can look in our journals, or just look back in time and see what was happening for us around those times. And, what is coming back full cycle to be reviewed. And it's going to be around our beliefs. It's going to be around our truths. It could be around spirituality, religion, cosmic law, like the last degrees of Sagittarius is about mastering our spiritual truths, and really, because the Sagittarian energy takes us out into the cosmos, so the truth of the cosmos, and so we're going back to really ask the questions, and it's like questioning everything we think we know, everything we think we believe. We could be questioning who we are, why we do the things we do. Why do we practice a certain religion? Do we say certain things, have certain beliefs? And there's just so much that is on the table here in terms of transformation. So we may feel, as Pluto's going back into Sagittarius, that we are really, it's like, okay, I'm at this gate into, this collective underworld that we're going into, and we don't know who we're going to be on the other side of this. And it's huge. And I think we are being asked now, with Pluto squaring this nodes, to really let go of the past, and in being servants, slaves to something, systems, or, practices that have held us in chains, and break free North Node, Aries Cetus, into a new cycle. And this is a collective cycle. It's not, and as well as individual, so when we're all being, purging all of these things, we're all doing it, and everyone I've spoke to is having something. Our car engine blew up last week and we had to get a whole new car. And what? We didn't know there was anything wrong with our car, but it's just gone. It died. That's it. So things like this are happening all over the place. And it brings turbulence, it brings uncertainty. It can really bring up fear, and fear around, is there going to be enough? Black Moon Lilith is opposing Pluto. There could be fear of change, fear of transformation, fear of death, fear of endings, so this is really humongous, really intense energy to be working with at this full moon. And so, yeah, I feel like I've already shared, and what is the residing constant for me through all of this, is to return to love in the center of our being, in the center of our chest. Whenever we're feeling these huge surges, it's like being in a birth portal, and we're having these huge initiations, and like if you're having a contraction, it's like we're being stretched open to become a new form. And so it's really powerful to be looking at how we can, in difficult, challenging, painful situations, return to love and anchor in love. So when we're at the gates of Maat and she asks to weigh our heart on her scales, it's because she is connected to Scorpio. She is one with death. And we know when we go through the gates of Libra that we will not return back out again the same. We know we're going to change. So if we're in a body, in a physical body, we know that when we go into the underworld, we may be coming into spirit if our life is ending, or if we're just going through a cycle or a threshold in our life, if we're going into becoming a mother for the first time, or if we're, going through our menopause or a later life, or if we're changing a job, or if we're in our Saturn return, or whatever it is. Every time we're going through a threshold of change, we are going into that chrysalis. And this really is the energy of Pluto, is of that transformation. And I really connect Pluto to our soul. And I feel like something that's been dropping in for me over this cycle is around the Aries energy, and I was talking before about taking Aries out, and what has really anchored for me this cycle is the I am energy, and how the idea of it being of ego is quite distorted, because the I am energy is the energy of our essence. It's the energy of our soul, and each of us has our own star essence, our own frequency, our own vibration that is unique. And this is the I am. So when we're coming from the waters of Pisces and we're being born through the ring of fire, through the Aries energy, through the gate of fire, because when a baby's head's coming out, it is fire. Trust me. It's this moment of I am. That child is coming through, that life is being born, and I am here. My essence is here. And, in days gone by, in our ancient ancestors, there would be a song for each child that the mother would receive before the child is born. So when that child is born, the mother would sing that song to the child as soon as it comes in to this world, and all of the family members and all of the ancestors will sing that song to the child. And every time that child goes through a challenging time or transformation, or, they're going through a rites of passage, the community sings the song to that child so they know who they are. They remember their essence. They remember their I am. And that feels more aligned to the energy of Aries than, ego and war and battles. I mean, sure, there's a shadow side to the I am, right? But I'm attuning to, what it feels like for me and things that are really anchoring in for me right now. So I really want to share that with you to see if it resonates, to see if we can remember the I am of our essence, of our sound, of our song, of our star, who we really are, the core of our soul. And I really feel like this is what Pluto is teaching us now. He is helping us to break through the fears and all of the shadows, to return to the I am essence. And when we know who we are, when we know our essence and our soul and our sound and our frequency, we can't be servants or slaves or controlled, because we are free. And so this feels like this eclipse season, it's really about breaking free. It's about breaking free and remembering who we really are. And that tail of that dragon, you can shake it. You can shake it real good, and you can shake off all of those past lives and traumas that need to be released. Imagining that we're like a snake and, we are releasing that skin. We're shedding it. We don't need to hold on to it, And on the last quarter moon, next week, Jupiter will be moving from Pisces into Aries, or Cetus energy. So Jupiter is moving into I am. Jupiter is moving into his soul essence. So this is a rebirth for Jupiter, and Jupiter is very abundant and expansive and connected to our beliefs and spirituality as well. So the last quarter moon, as we're coming into the end of the cycle, it's going to be a rebirth for our beliefs and who we believe ourselves to be, and really expanding on that. So yes, that'll be next week. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm feeling like that is probably about enough for tonight. Yeah, I feel like I've said it all that I wanted to say. And yeah, if you're curious to know more about this astrology or astronomy, constellational astrology, or whatever I want to call it, yeah, just get in touch. I'd love to do a chart for you, or draw it up so you can look at things through a different lens. So and help us attune to our soul and our star sound essence. So yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen now, and send you all full moon lunar eclipse Beltane, Samhain blessings. Mwah, from the heart of Avalon, from my heart. Lots of love. Bye.